it feel just to get a little bit of movement? Again, yeah? Again, I love being up here and having this vantage point because even after doing just a couple little things, I see faces and everyone's like, and it's so lovely to see your smiles. So getting some movement. And then I talked about the power of your breath, to be able to step out of that mental and emotional storm that sometimes we find ourselves in. Our breath is such a powerful tool, and if you remember nothing else from what I said today, I really hope that you take away with you today, inhale to 4, exhale to 8, because it is such a powerful tool. And if you practice that every day, maybe if you practice that in the morning, even before you do prayers, I think that can be a really powerful way to calm your mind and emotions, to clear yourself out, and then to open yourself so that you're more receptive to listen, you're more receptive to be present, you're more receptive to hear whatever it is that God is speaking and sending to you, that you're going to be able to be open to it. Does that resonate? Yeah. So there's all other kinds of practices and techniques that I teach. Mindfulness is a concept that I feel like is becoming more and more known, that word, mindfulness. Does anybody know what mindfulness is, or how would you define mindfulness?
Is it like a self-awareness and water, your state of being?
Yes, so I heard two different things. It's self-awareness and it's being in the present moment. And so I always like talking about mindfulness. It sounds like such a simple thing. Being in the present moment, being self-aware. Like, oh, I've got this, right? Except when we sit still, suddenly there's all kinds of things that start coming up in our minds. And when our minds wander, usually it's not about the present moment. Most of the time our minds wander to the past. Whether it's 15 minutes ago or 15 years ago, our mind takes us there and we relive it. And we tell ourselves, I should have done that differently. I wish I would have done that differently. Here's how I should have done that. And we relive it. Or our mind projects us into the future, whether it's 15 minutes from now or 5 years from now. Our mind projects us into the future and we say, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if this? What if that? When we're in the present moment, there's nothing to experience but peace, because we're right here, right now. And if you have a tool like a breathing technique that you can reduce pain, if you're experiencing pain, emotional pain, mental pain, physical pain, if you have a way that you can manage that and you can be in the present moment and you can open yourself to experience peace, that's really what mindfulness is. It's bringing yourself to the present moment again and again. And it's a practice and it's a process. And so you can sit still and close your eyes and practice mindfulness, and just maybe focus on your breath. I had you do a little bit of mindfulness after we did the 4-8 breath, and I just told you to feel your natural breath. That's a mindfulness technique, just watching and feeling your body breathing all on its own. You could also notice, so like right now, if I tell you to feel your feet, and don't change your feet, however your feet are right now, just bring all of your attention to your feet. Suddenly you experience something different than you did a moment ago because you weren't paying attention to your feet, right? Like you're able to feel something. That's mindfulness. It's paying attention to the present moment. You could pay attention to your hands. So right now, we have lots of nerve endings in our hands. So right now, again, you don't have to change any position from your hands, just feel your hands. If they're touching something, feel what they're touching. If they're touching each other, feel that. It's kind of neat, right? Like there's these things going on in the body, really simple little things in the present moment that we just don't pay attention to most of the time because we're stuck in our heads. We're not in the present moment, but we're thinking about other things. And so mindfulness is just about coming back again and again, letting go, noticing what's on your mind. So noticing, I often tell people to label their thoughts. So noticing, oh, there's a thought about the past. And then you label it and then you let it go. oh, there's a thought about the future. Let that go. I'm going to feel my feet right now. I'm going to feel my breath right now. And like, it sounds really simple, right? And it sounds really easy. It's not easy though, because our minds are powerful and they're filled with all kinds of words and thoughts and fears and all that stuff. But the more you can practice coming back to the present moment, taking some deep breaths so that you can kind of clear things out, that's really, I think, the best way to bring yourself into a state of health and well-being. Because if you can then pay attention to what's going on in your body, you can recognize what's going on in your mind and your emotions, and you can find a little space of peace. Well, that's when you can really connect with your higher self, your soul, and you can really open yourself up to listen. So, does anyone have questions for me? I'd love to hear questions. Again, you heard about my experience. I do some counseling, I teach mindfulness, I teach yoga. Questions about anything we've done today, or yes?
I just have a comment. When you were just a few minutes ago talking about the mindfulness and pain, I find that helps a lot.
Yeah.
Because I've had a lot of stomach issues, and I'll sit and breathe like that, and take the deep breaths, and even if it's temporary, there's a lot to that.
Right. And it's fascinating how these little simple techniques can help us deal with pain. I mean, I've worked with people who have chronic pain, and oftentimes, and people are surprised to hear this, but when I really work with people who have chronic pain, what we're working toward actually is having them look at the pain. Meaning, sometimes the idea might be, well, think about something else, distract yourself. But mindfulness is all about really being in the present moment and experiencing that. But sometimes, again, our experience of pain might be way out here, and we might find if we breathe and we can let go of some of the mental noise that we have, because when we experience pain, let's say pain is like this, it's like the size of a softball. On top of that pain are layers of suffering that we add. Unfortunately, we're human, it happens. And the layers of suffering have to do with our fear around the pain. What if it doesn't get better? What if it gets worse? What if it never goes away? I had this pain in the past and it got really bad. And so all those thoughts that we add to it, suddenly our experience of the pain is way out here. And if we can use breathing practices, it can help kind of cut through some of that mental noise, and our experience of the pain can be less and less and less. And suddenly this isn't so scary to look at. This is scary to look at and experience. But if we can soften all the mental and emotional stuff that accompany it, yeah, it definitely can be such a helpful experience. And it's why we teach breathing to women going through labor. Again, we should all learn it across the lifespan because it's really powerful. Yes.
I've been doing a breathing technique with Dr. Andrew Weil. You know, I got a cassette disc, which we don't, even use anymore. 4-7-8 breaths. So what is the difference between that one and your 4-8?
So I'm glad you asked that. So yeah, Dr. Andrew Weil teaches the 4-7-8 breath, and so that's very similar to what we did. He adds a breath hold at the top. So it's inhale to 4, hold the breath for a count of 7, and then exhale to 8. The reason why I don't offer the breath hold, there is a reason for it. You can certainly do that if you feel comfortable for it, but in all of my work that I've done working with people, I've learned a few things about holding the breath. If you are prone to having anxiety, for some people, holding their breath increases anxiety. So I don't want anyone to hold their breath and make themselves feel worse. So I take out that breath hold. The other thing is, if you have certain health conditions, holding your breath is not advised. Like if you have glaucoma, if you have uncontrolled high blood pressure, your blood pressure increases when you hold your breath, and eye pressure increases whenever you hold your breath. So that is an option if you're free of glaucoma, your blood pressure is under control, and if it doesn't cause you anxiousness, you can definitely add that breath hold into that 4-8 count. But that's kind of the reason why I don't do that piece. Yes?
What do you suggest when we have so many things to do and so much time in which to accomplish them, and you figure, there is no way I'm going to get all this done. What can you do to relieve that kind of tension?
Reduce your expectations that you put on yourself. I hear you, I'm the same way. Like, I have a to-do list, and I like, here's my to-do list for today. And there's no possible way that I could get it done. And, I try and get in the mindset, whatever you do accomplish in a day, celebrate that. Celebrate what you do accomplish instead of beating yourself up for what you don't accomplish. And just say, well, that didn't get done today, it'll get done tomorrow. And if it doesn't get done tomorrow, it's not the end of the world. It's hard to do that, but it's a practice. And it makes you feel so much more peaceful if you can, I think appreciating yourself for all the hard work that you do. And that's for all the women in this room, because I know that we're all hardworking, whether we're mothers or working in whatever capacity you work. We're hardworking people. And so celebrate all that you can do, and, be thankful that you can do what you do, and try to notice if you're beating yourself up because you didn't do everything. So lower those expectations for yourself. There's a great book called The 4 Agreements, and one of the 4 agreements, it's like, these are 4 agreements on how to live a healthy and happy life. And the 4th agreement is, always do your best, but recognize that your best is going to change moment to moment. So your best is going to be different on a day that you're sick as opposed to a day that you're well. Your best is going to be different if you got 8 hours of sleep as opposed to if you got 4. And I think sometimes we always have this high expectation for ourselves, and we expect to hit it all the time, regardless of anything else that's going on in life, and then we beat ourselves up when we don't. But maybe today, this is your best. And telling yourself that's okay. We don't have to be way up here all the time, every moment. Thank you so much for having me.